Hey there, Joe, N4LQ.
Oh, hello, Steve. How are you doing?
Oh, pretty good. I'm just trying to get things set up here. Yeah, it's 8 o'clock. Good evening. Glad to have you. And I haven't heard Bob for, it's probably been a couple of weeks. I checked in one time. That's about it.
Okay. I didn't know whether he had been in here or not. He's probably been watching ball games, and, you know, we've been doing our deer hunting thing, and since it was raining today all day and all, I said, you know, it's supposed to be raining in the morning. I think I'll get on the radio a little while tonight, oh. He's probably been...
Yeah, Roger. Well, that's great. Always glad to have you, and the more the merrier. Well, if you don't mind, I'll check to see if there's some more folks on here. We usually, the last couple of weeks, we've been starting up kind of a round table, and we'll just put your call down here. You're number one. I have it right. Is KC4 or FCA?
Kilo Delta 4, Foxtrot Charlie Alpha.
Yeah, FCA. I got it. Okay. And I'm just writing you down here. So you're number one. Let's see if anybody else wants to check in. N4LQ.
Good evening. This is K4QE.
I got K4QE. Let's see if anybody else is here. Tony. Tony is up in Liberty, North Carolina, just north of us there, Joe. Joel's not too far from me here in Shelby. So let's see. Where is our buddy John tonight? I think he said he had something going on. I'm not sure what it was.
He might be going over his daughters for some pumpkin pie.
Well, I guess that's possible. Anybody else want to check in tonight? Call N4LQ.
N4LQ. N4WD.
N4 Wagons and Dogs. Hello, Bruce. How are you tonight?
3.5 inches of rain. I'm still floating.
3.5 inches? Oh, man, I didn't know anybody got that much. Well, we got an inch here, and I'm very happy to get that. So, no complaints. Anybody else want to get on the roster here tonight? Yeah, kind of a quiet night. I had a big net up there on the AM on 3885. A lot of the guys check into that. They're probably wore out, or they're still on it. That's a big net. They have so many people check in. I don't know how they get done. Yeah, it's AM though. Anyway, this is N4LQ, carefully listening for any more check-ins. Anyway, well, Joe, glad you can make it tonight. You're the first one tonight on the massive list of 4 people, including myself. And like I said, it's been a rainy day. I went out to bring the garbage can in. That's about it. And our daughter is here, and her husband, and then there's more coming in tomorrow. The son, and I guess his son, and the other grandson, and then my sister. So we'll have a nice little crowd here for Thanksgiving on Thursday. And got a few things done here in the shack. Nothing important. I got a new monitor support arm that mounts on the wall to replace the other one. The other one would allow the monitor to swivel back and forth, but this new one will let it go up and down. So that way, if I happen to get a big rig, I can raise it up real quick, just push it up and slide the rig back under it. And if I get a little rig, I can bring it back down. So that, and I've been working on the AF-68, discovered a new modification that Bruce will probably enjoy hearing about. So what have you been up to there, Joe? KD4FCA, N4LQ.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Yeah, well, we've been doing a little deer hunting, taking the neighbors' kids deer hunting a little bit here and there. They've both managed to shoot on a couple of deer this year, and I enjoy taking them more than I do going myself anymore. It's just more fun to watch them. And like you, I'm getting ready for the holiday, and we're getting ready to eat too much. And other than that, I haven't done a lot on the radio. Just been working until this week. I took it off to do some hunting before it got really cold. And other than that, I guess that's about it. I've just been said, well, I'm gonna get in here and turn the radio on tonight. So I reckon I'll turn it over to somebody else. KD4FCA.
All right. Yeah, we'll get going here in a minute. Well, there's probably a lot of detail to deer hunting, and I know you got to get your ammunition and your weapon ready, and get your lunch packed, and get dressed for it. A lot of preparation, and then when you get back, you got to do something with those deer. So that's probably a full day's work right there. Next time you come around, I want you to tell me what they're doing about it, because it seems like there's just too many deer. I just wonder if they've made any adjustments on that. So go ahead there, Tony, K4QE, N4LQ.
All right, Steve, good evening, and hello to Joel and to Bruce. And it's been a quiet day here in Liberty, not much going on. Of course, we had rain pretty much the entire day. I spent most of the day tuning around on 40 and 75 meters, listening to the AM QSOs going on. And I was downloading a couple operating systems for a couple Linux operating systems that I've been playing around with. And yeah, so that's not a heck of a lot more going on. We're getting ready for Thanksgiving. Going to have dinner here at my house. My wife is going to make a turkey breast and a rotisserie chicken. She's not a big fan of turkey, and neither is her best friend, who will be joining us for dinner. But the kids and I like turkey, so there we go. Everybody's going to have what they want, so that's always good. And tomorrow she's going to be making some pies, a deep dish apple pie and a pumpkin pie. So I'm looking forward to that. And I guess I'll pass it on over to Bruce, N4WD. This is K4QE.
Okay, K4QE1E, N4WD. And Joel, good luck on your hunt there. My grandson does a lot of that. I don't, but he does. He enjoys it. Takes a great grandson with him. He's 4, and he takes him with him, and they have father and son time together, I guess you could call it. But they seem to like it. So that's all that counts. Yeah, 3.31 inches of rain, and the wind blew like crazy. And I sprung a small leak in the roof. Now what I think it does is I got those things that for vents, ridge vents, and I think it blows it up under that. Because if it don't rain real hard, the wind don't blow, then I don't have the problem. But it blew last night and this morning like crazy. Up to 20, 25 miles an hour, miles an hour off and on. So, back she comes, the 67, a new mod. All right. N4LQ, N4WD.
Okay, let's see, Bruce, if there's anybody else wants to check in, this N4LQ. Oh, okay. Well, interesting about the Linux, Tony, which brings up Pi, and I wonder, Bruce, have you gotten your Pi 5 yet?
I got it and got it loaded up with Ubuntu, and it's a screaming. I got to get some cooling for it, and the processor runs hot.
What, a heat sink or a fan?
Both. I got a case coming for it that's got a heat sink and a fan that sits over it. So, hoping that'll take care of it.
Oh, okay. Which company did you buy it from? Directly from them, or from like Mauser or somebody?
The only place I could find that had them was, I can't never remember their name. Anyway, they sell robot kits and educational stuff, and they got a mess in. I ordered a couple of them and went back to order a couple more a couple hours later, and they were out of them. So they went fast. They're like pulling hen's teeth trying to find.
Okay, I'm afraid to ask why you need all those pies, but anyway, and good to hear about the pies there that people are cooking. Yeah, my wife cooked or baked several pies today, and an apple and a pumpkin and a cherry and a pecan, or is it pecan? Whatever. But I like cherry the best, and so I've been eating on that a little bit, which I probably should not do. And yeah, well, the pie thing sounds interesting. I kind of held off buying a pie because they were coming out with a new one, so I may go ahead and order one. I don't know what I'd do with more than one of them, but interesting about the heat situation. Boy, I guess the faster things go, the more heat they generate. It's like my new SDR, that RX 888. That little thing gets hotter than a blazers. I had to put a fan on it. I got a fan mounted underneath it to blow up around it to keep it cool. But it's a 16-bit processor, and I guess it does a beautiful job. I mean, it will display the entire spectrum if you want to do it, from 0 up to 30 megahertz on the screen. It's interesting to see where things are and see where they pop up. The AF68 LMAC, speaking of AM, the problem that I have been having is the 0 beat when you flip the VFO on to spot yourself. It had a tremendous hum on it, and I think about every one of them I've ever seen have been that way. And it's not that it's not usable, it's just that it's kind of annoying. And the other thing was the grid current on 80 meters. As you tune through the grid circuit, as you tune through the grid tuning, it would kind of have like dips and crazy places in it. So what I did was reduce the voltage on the driver's plate with a resistor, and it's super easy to do. Once you get that resistor in there, all those troubles just suddenly disappear. It's like there's a threshold that you need to keep that plate voltage under. That took care of it. I'm using a 820 ohm 5-watt resistor in series with the plate, the driver tube. And I can send you a picture if you're interested in trying it, Bruce. I don't think you're even running it, but I can do that. So let me check one more time and see if anybody else is here. This is N4LQ. And nothing heard. So I guess it's back to Joel. And yeah, tell me about the deer situation, because they are so thick around this neighborhood over here. And I thought, hey, we're going to have you know, like a bounty on these things. KD4FCA, N4LQ.
Yeah, Steve, I reckon they've, we don't have a maximum season in Cleveland County, but we can shoot either 6 until December the 16th. You can shoot doe or a buck, and then after that, it's bucks only. And you can shoot up to like 4 does per person and 2 bucks, so that's 6 deer a hunter. And if I am not mistaken, in city limits like Bowling Springs and Shelby, you can apply for an extended season with bow only, or you can hunt in the city limits till like February, middle of February or something or another. I never have done that. I do bow hunt a little bit, but I've never applied for the city part of it. Which there are a lot of big deer in the city. Don't get me wrong. Them deer's not stupid. They know most people's not going to bother them there, so they ends up being a lot of big deer in the city limits of about every town around. And you are correct. They do seem to multiply, and I'm sure that the insurance companies and stuff would love to get rid of a bunch more of them. Because of damage to automobiles and whatnot, and they will eventually overpopulate to a point to where they'll dig in your trash cans and stuff too, so they can become a nuisance. But other than that, that's about all I've got on that. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to go over to 10 meters and holler at them guys a little while, so I'm going to go ahead and sign, and I'll say 73s to everybody out there. Enjoyed it, and we'll look forward to catching y'all again. We got a group that meets at 8:30 on 10 meters that I talk to sometimes, and I hadn't talked to them in a while. So I'm going to get in there. 73s, everybody. N4LQ, this is KD4FCA, and good evening to the group.
All right, Joel, real good. Good to hear you, and pleasure to meet you, and looking forward to talking to you again in the future. And I wish you luck on the hunt, and hope you enjoy it, and hope the weather holds up for you. Hope it isn't too cold. Anyway, I haven't yet played with Raspberry Pis. I built my own rather large machine a couple years ago using a 16-core processor, a Ryzen 5950X, with the intention of using it for processing astrophotography photos. So it's got quite a bit of RAM in it too. I got 128 gigs of RAM and a couple terabyte SSD drives in it. And I got Kubuntu loaded on it, which is the KDE version, the Ubuntu version that has KDE as the desktop environment. And it's been doing very well. This is a great machine. I mean, it's lightning fast, and it does a really nice job for me. I'm very happy with it. But I use Linux at the office. I'm a principal systems administrator for the company I work for, and so I like to play around with Linux, and I usually like to distro hop a little bit and play around with things and try to understand how some of these other ones work. But at work we use Red Hat Enterprise Linux and everything. Kind of boring, but That's the way it is. And when you're going to take care of business, that's what you got to run. So there you go. All right, let me see. I believe that goes over to Bruce, N4WD. This is K4QE.
Okay, K4QE, N4WD. I just couldn't. Me and Red Hat didn't get along together. I tried it many years ago. It may be different now, but we didn't get along together, so I did away with the machine. Well, I did away with the OS on the machine that I had it on, and just went straight Linux. But the Pi's, the Pi 5 has four processors on it. That's why it runs so hot, I'd say. But it 2.3 gig processing speed, so it's a humming along. So it's gonna get warm. But we've been dingling with Linux, good cow, since when it first come out, really. When back when they were having the battle over who owned it and who didn't own it. But that was a big hoot. So, but we've been around it that long. And Steve, I use the Pi is what I control my rig with and do my logging with. It's small. You just mount it on the back of your monitor, stick a wireless keyboard and mouse on it, and limit some space. And then the other Pi, I tie them together with virtual network connections, and I can scoot between them for doing looking up calls and checking email when I do check it and stuff like that. So they have a purpose, and then I still run 2 Windows laptops and a Windows mini computer, and so I ain't give it all up. N4LQ, send me the information on that, Steve. I'd appreciate it. I still got the 68 here, and I'll stick it on it and give it a whirl, and if somebody else gets it, then they'll have the advantage of having that on there. N4LQ, N4WD.
Okay, anybody else want to check in? N4LQ. Okay, well, N4LQ and the small net. Just me and you, Bruce. Anyway, I think Tony checked out, right? Am I right?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, I must be. Okay, it's Joel checked out. Sorry about that. Yeah, 16 cores. Good grief. Yeah, I bought about a year ago. I got a new computer here. I had it built on eBay. It was cheaper than anything that I could buy, and I couldn't even buy the parts for what this guy built it for. And there's a lot of guys advertising built to order PCs on eBay, so I just checked which, with the parts I wanted, and it's i9 Intel, and it's fast. It's it's just loafs along at what I do here, so it's good for SDRs and such. But I don't know. My grandson is in the gaming. It's funny. I was looking at some guy had an old rig for sale on eBay, and I happened to look at his other items. Well, he had a TV for sale, 1950 something, portable black and white with a handle on top. I mean, I don't know. And he wanted like $1,200 for it. And I started looking at TVs for sale, and they're all like at least $300 on most all of those little old black and whites, especially the 21-inch semi-portable, they call it, or tabletop models and stuff. And we were talking about it on the net, and I said, what in the world does anybody want with one of those? Because they can't receive anything unless you pipe it in there from a VCR or convert, video out into RF so you can watch it or whatever. Why would you want to do that? And some guy said, well, gamers like them. Game people use them because of zero latency. And I thought, wow, I don't know about that. I mean, these games are so highly detailed, and I don't know how you could even tell what you're doing. So I don't know if anybody's got any comments on that. But I knew gamers were not wanting wireless mice and keyboards because they slow things down. They want hardwired mice and so forth. So what do you got to say about that, Tony? K4QE, N4LQ. Okay, Lyle got you on the list, and you'll come after Bruce in just a second.
All right, very good. Well, I have used my computer for doing processing of large, vast quantities of data, mainly photographic data. So that's why I need all the cores. But I built this thing it's purpose built, and so I built everything custom. I bought all the components myself and put it all together. It was actually a lot more complicated than I thought it was going to be. I used to build computers many years ago, but trying to integrate this stuff today is a little bit more difficult than it used to be. But that's okay. I had fun doing it and learned a few things along the way, and that's always good. I've been using Linux as well since the beginning, 1993 when it first came out. I've also used FreeBSD, which I really enjoy, but unfortunately, it's not a heck of a lot of software that I want to use that runs on FreeBSD. All the tools that I want to use for astrophotography and for ham radio are primarily on Linux, so it's kind of difficult to justify using FreeBSD, even though I like it a lot. And I've always found that it runs faster than Linux does. But anyway, I was interested in getting a Raspberry Pi in order to marry it with one of those Kiwi SDRs. Those Kiwi SDRs are really interesting. I've used them over the internet quite often, and I've always found them pretty enjoyable. I always wanted to put one together here, and so I could use it from here. But I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with those or not. But I know Raspberry Pi. The only OS that I'm familiar with for the Raspberry Pi is Raspbian, which is I think the Debian flavor for Raspberry Pis. And I see that the Raspberry Pi 5 just was released, or they're starting to sell it now. So I assume that's what you guys were talking about earlier, Steve, when you mentioned you were holding off buying one. You might want to comment on that. Anyway, I'll pass it over to Bruce, N4WD from K4QE.
Okay, K4QE, N4WD. And we're going to have to step away after we make comments for a little bit. Mama says the chicken's warmed up. Go in there and get it before it gets cold. Yeah, the 5s are out. They're going like hotcakes. I put the Ubuntu on there, went in there and downloaded all the software that I had to, some of it that I had to build on the other Pis. I just went out, told it what I wanted, and told it to get it and install it. And the next thing I know, it's on the Pi. Excuse me. So that worked out okay like that too. Didn't have to do as much work, so to speak. Love that. So yeah, we've been messing with it for a while. We used to run a BBS here off Lookout Mountain with 440 and 2 meters and 440 high-speed link down towards Atlanta to tie it all together. But that's all died out around here, so that all came out, and I got 10Cs sitting everywhere. So, but nobody uses them, so I guess they'll sit here. I didn't hear the other guy, Lowell. I think you said it was Steve, so I won't turn it back to him. I'm going to drop out for just a little bit and be back. Hopefully y'all will still be here, even though it's a small group. Maybe we can talk some more Linux and 68s. So I'm going to give it to you real quick, Steve, and you can give it to Lowell. Yeah, N4LQ, N4WD.
Okay, Bruce. I did want to comment that your audio is exceptionally good. You're 20 over tonight. Have you done anything to the audio on that 7300, the microphone or anything?
No, it's still set stock like we set it that night when we were testing it.
Yeah, okay. I guess it's partly band conditions, and I just got a big old static crash. I wonder if I'm going to check the lightning map here. Anyway, well, we'll just talk to you later then. I do see lightning all over the place. Boy. Let's see. I'm looking here on the map to see if there's anything around us. Doesn't look like it. There's some down to the south, but nothing close. So I guess we're okay. All right. We'll see you later then. Go ahead, Lyle. N4QH, N4LQ.
Yeah, N4LQ and a gang N4QH. A couple of things tonight. I just got finished talking with Boone. Boone finished his AF68. He got his AF68 going. Putting out 20 watts, which is what he wants to drive his amplifier. So he's happy with that. And getting back to the gamers. Yes, the gamers like zero latency. They do not like the satellites in geosynchronous orbit. They like the satellites that Elon Musk has, these Skylinks, I guess they're called. They're up about 300 miles, so the latency is down. The gamers like instant signals, number one. Also, these big auction houses, like these big car auction houses, also use the Elon Musk satellites. They need instant bids and instant responses, like this Garrett or Barrett car auction place. They use it too, but Elon Musk has a lot of these satellites up there, and he has over 2 million customers already, and I think the price to use his satellite for internet service is $90 a month, so it's not that bad. But Elon Musk is going to be making out like a rape date with all these satellites he put up. He has quite a few satellites already bought and paid for already, so they've only been up a year or so. So he's doing real well with that. Anything he touches turns to gold anyway. N4LQ, N4QH, over.
Lyle, did you talk to Boone on the radio or on the phone?
I talked to about 6 meters.
Oh, okay. So he wasn't using the AF68, or was he?
We were on sideband.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. Tomorrow's Wednesday, so I guess I won't hear him until Thursday. He gets on the old Friends Net on Thursday morning at 9 o'clock. And, of course, Tony, you're welcome to, I think we told you about that, so it's 3715. I knew about the latency and so forth on that, and then I know the stock traders are going to HF radio to trade stock now because fiber is too slow, of all things. But I just don't understand the black and white TV. I mean, I know there's some latency involved in the video part, but I just don't see how they can play a game unless it's a really crude game on a black and white TV, and still you'd have to convert whatever it is and to the TV, and looks like that would introduce latency. So, what do I know? So, what do you say, Tony? Oh, tell me about that 7851. Now that's their top of the line. I guess they're still making that, as far as I know. And Am I correct that has a superhead front end with roofing filters, or is it down conversion? I don't even recall. I've never had one. I don't think I've ever seen one. I'm using a 7610 K4QE N4LQ.
All right, Steve, N4LQ in the group from K4QE. Yeah, I've had this rig since December 2019. Bought it brand new, and it's an up conversion superhet. It's got 4 roofing filters in it, 15 kilohertz, 6 kilohertz, 3 kilohertz, and 1.2 kilohertz. The 1.2 is one of the big differences between the 7850, 51 series, and the 7800. The 7800, the narrowest you could get was 3 kilohertz. It has no SDR components in it. It has a DSP on the back end, of course, like all the ICOM radios have had since the 756 Pro series came out. It's a big radio. It weighs about 55 pounds. It's got a built-in power supply and antenna tuner, and it puts out 200 watts maximum. It's got dual receivers in it, two identical receivers, and the roofing filters are, of course, doubled on both receivers. Everything is it's 2 of everything, so except the transmitter, of course. And it does all modes. It has a USB port on the back for hooking up to your computer, which will handle both the sound card interface itself, the one built into the radio, as well as the CAT control. There are separate CAT control ports on it if you prefer to use them. There's quite a bit to it. All the controls are on the front panel are doubled up real nice. It's very ergonomically set up nicely, unlike the Yaesu FT101D, FTDX 101, I should say. I've played around with one of those, and I'm sorry, it's a great radio, but the ergonomics are just not as well laid out as it is on this rig. Same thing goes for the Kenwood 990. That one's even worse. But it's a great radio. I love it. I had a 7800 I bought back in 2006, and I sold it and got a K3, and I ran a K3 for about 6 years. I really enjoyed it, but I decided I wanted something new, and I dipped my toe in the SDR pool for a while and had a couple flex radios, but I had a 6600M, and I did not like the controls at all. So I decided to sell it, and I went back home, so to speak, and got a 7851. They are still selling them. However, they no longer stock them at any of the amateur outlets that you normally purchase your rigs from. They're special order only. And I do know one guy who recently got one, and he waited a year before it finally got delivered, and he had to pay for it up front, full price. So, wow, I was shocked to hear that, but I think I got the last one that was in stock in the United States back in 2019. But I'm glad I got it. It's been a reliable workhorse ever since. And if you want to see one in real life, you're always welcome to come up here, and I'd be glad to give you the grand tour. So I'd love, one of these mornings, I'd love for you to take a recording of this thing when it's on AM, because I'd love to know how it sounds on the other end. I've tried using the web-based SDRs to listen to my own signal, but I just can't. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not doing it right. I can't figure out how to listen to myself and be able to understand what be able to get the audio right so I can see how good my signal is or is not. So if you can help me with that, I really appreciate it. And I'm using a Mercury Lux, which I recently got. I'm going to say it was about 4 or 5 months ago. I don't remember the exact date now, but it interfaces with this rig real nice. No problems whatsoever. I had intended to get the ICOM IC whatever the new solid state amp, the PW2 I think it is, but ICOM has been taking forever to release the thing, and it's overly expensive in my opinion, considering the fact it does not even do legal limit. It only does a kilowatt. I'm like, well, you know what? It's not worth it to me. So I got this Mercury Lux instead to save the boatload of money, and it has 6 meters to boot. So there you go. Regarding Linux, I love running it. I much prefer running it as opposed to Windows. Unfortunately, I do have a couple of ham radio programs which keep me mired in Windows. I've been using DX Lab for over 20 years, and Dave has very clearly stated he will never be porting it to any other operating system. So, and it does not work under Wine. So, I am stuck with Windows as long as I continue to use DX Lab. Maybe one of these days I'll jump ship, but it's kind of hard after doing it for over 20 years. So, all right, I'll pass it over to Bruce if he's still here. N4WD, this is K4QE.
No, I think he was going to do something. I don't know if he'll be back. N4LQ here. Well, good. If you want to try AM, just if you wanted to push the button and switch over to it, I can. I'm recording this. Actually, I'm live streaming it right now. So we're on YouTube. And you can just go back and watch the whole thing if you want to hear yourself. And let's see here. I can tell you right now we've got a total of 5 people. Who knows who they are? So hello out there to YouTubers, whoever you are. You can type in the chat window over there if you want to say hello and tell us where you're at. That's always a lot of fun. And usually I live stream the Old Friends Net also, so you can, if you want to wait till Thursday, that's fine, because I know there's several things you have to do to get set up probably. But whatever, we can, after we get done here, we can switch to AM. The 7610 doesn't sound very good on AM. For some reason, ICOM restricted the low end to 300 cycles on the 7610. On the 7300, it goes down to it's either 100 or 150, and it sounds much better. However, I can get 100% modulation on this, but 7300 can't quite do it. So it's got something to do with that, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I bought a 7800 about the same time you did, I guess, and had it for almost 2 years. And I got scared of the power supply. People kept having trouble with the power supply going out in them, and it was okay. It was a fine rig, but actually it was starting to get a little obsolete. The 7600 came out with some features on it that the 7800 didn't have. And now this 7610, it does everything your 7851 does. As far as I can tell, everything you mentioned, I've got 2 entirely separate receivers and antenna inputs and yada yada, all that stuff. It'll do diversity just fine. So not that I ever use it. Matter of fact, I can listen to. I've got a SDR here with 2 inputs and diversity on it, so I could do double, quadruple diversity, I guess, if I had enough antennas. So anyway, I'm with you on the K3. I bought that. That's what I got after I sold the 7800. I kept waiting for the K3 to come out, and it finally did. And so I got one of those. Had it for 6 years, and let's see, I got a Yaesu 3000, and that was a joke. Got rid of it. went back to the K3S, loaded it up with everything. And in the meantime, I picked up the first 7300 I could get out of ICOM, and I could not get away from the audio on the 7300. So I just quit using the K3, and I said, well, what's the use of having this $7,000 pile of junk sitting here? So I sold it, used the 7300 until I got a 7610, and then I sold that, went through the Anon phase and the Flex, sold the Flex, went back to the 7610, got another Flex. I was back and forth, so, but I got to where the Flex, well, the Anon was really annoying. I kept having trouble with connections on it, so it's a nice rig, but not CW. It just has too much latency for CW, and so the Flex has latency also that people don't even realize it has. It sounds like it's full QSK, but there's a delay there that you don't hear because what you're listening to is delayed, but not your own side tone. Kind of hard to explain, but anyway, it's there. There's no way around it. And the display, the Maestro, it's just a Dell computer, all it is. It's a little bit underpowered for that, if you ask me. I just don't see any use in that. Just kind of a gimmick. So I never did go with the front panel. The last one I had was a 6600, and nice piece of equipment, well built, but I just decided I preferred the 7610, and so far I can't find anything that I would like better. If I was going to operate in close proximity with contesters like on a DXpedition or a field day, I'd probably use something else, but that just happens very seldom. I'm using a RF kit, RF2KS amplifier here. Well, back to you, Lyle, N4QH, N4LQ.
Yeah, I got real good, Steve. N4LQ, N4QH. Yeah, well, one thing was somewhere around April or so. I talked to Elecraft. I wanted to buy a new K4 with the 2-meter transverter in it, and I wanted to try that out, and I was really kind of hot on getting one. Had the cash money for it. I could write then and there. But the guy told me, who I was talking to, I had to wait about 6 months, so I said no. So ultimate rig, I don't know. I'm like you, I've tried so many rigs, but I kind of love the ICOM Pro 3 the best, I guess. The only thing I don't like about the Pro 3 is the ALC works too hot and heavy, and it will not drive an amplifier real well, so. Excuse me, no, K4QE now. If you want to listen to yourself real quick, use the Dahlonega Georgia SDR, the web SDR. It really works well. It's a little delayed, but it's really cool. Even has a Magic Eye tuning eye on it, so it's real cool. I like that web SDR in Dahlonega there. Otherwise, I'm going to skedaddle out here. Wife will be home any second and spend some time with her for the rest of the evening before we call it quits. K4QE, I guess, and 4QH.
All right, Lyle, real good. Well, thank you for the tip on that SDR. I will check that out. And yeah, I had the 6600M was a real big disappointment for me, Steve. I had a 6300, and I really liked it. I really enjoyed that radio. I liked the interface on the computer, and I had a lot of fun with it. So I decided to go head over heels for the Flex, and I went ahead and bought a 6600M. What a disappointment. I had RFI problems with it. I hated the Maestro interface. I know it has a Dell tablet inside the thing. I know that's how they make them, but that wasn't what bothered me. What bothered me was the knobs. The knobs had no drag on them whatsoever. And I'm like, whoa, well, what the heck is this? And you barely touch something, and you're next thing you know, you're changing an adjustment that you didn't want to adjust. It just you blow on them and it would move. I didn't like that whatsoever. So I tried to live with it for a while, but I got tired of it, and I said this is too much, and I got rid of it. So and I used it to fund buying this thing. So and I haven't looked back. I really enjoyed having this radio here at the shack again. It's a nice big radio, and that's the way I like them. So. I really enjoy this thing. But what I wanted to mention was you talked about this 7300 not being able to 100% modulate it. I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, but W8JI, I think he was the one who found it. I found that if you put a 9-volt battery on the back end of the radio through the ALC jack, that you could modulate the ICOMs 100%. They put a simple rheostat and a 9-volt battery into the ALC, and you can adjust it so you can get a 100% modulation. So anyway, I don't know if you want to give that a shot or not, but it's worth a try, right? I played around with the 7610 briefly at John's place. I helped him get it set up so he could do remote with it, like when he goes down to the beach. And that's a nice little radio. I kind of like it. They had just come out when I bought this radio, and I was scared of them because people were complaining about the screen going gray on them and having to send it back for a replacement. I'm like, I don't know. That's kind of making me nervous. And plus, I like having all of the controls on the front panel rather than having to dive in the menus for everything. So that's another thing where I really kind of prefer the 7851. But that 7610 is a real nice radio, I have to admit. So, if I had to do it over again, I'd probably end up getting a 7610. But I'm happy with what I got, and given the price I paid for this thing, it's going to be sitting here for a while. So there you go. All right, over to you, Steve, N4LQ from K4QE.
Can you hear me?
Okay, W4AUV. That's Dale over in Raleigh, North Carolina. How you doing tonight, Dale? I've got, let's see, me and K4QE Tony and Lyle, N4QH, way over west of me here. So go ahead and make a transmission, turn it back to me, and tell us your latest findings over there in Raleigh. W4AUV and 4LQ.
All right, N4LQ and the group. W4AUV, good evening, everybody. Thought I would get on the top band tonight. Been messing around on 60 meters. That's what's been keeping me off of here. I've got the big antenna Steve configured, the big top-loaded end-fed Marconi, just working it against ground. Feeding both sides of the open wire line is a single line. And Steve, you're probably more than 20 over 9. So hope you're hearing me okay. That's what we've been up to. Just haven't been on here very much because I have to go outside and reconnect the connections and put it in the 160 configuration. N4LQ in the group, and hello to the other two fellows, W4AUV.
Roger, somebody said something at the beginning of your transmission. Who was that?
Recheck. N4 Whiskey Delta.
Recheck. All right. He's back. N4WD, and somebody else said something too. Who was that?
I didn't, but I will. WA4EVK.
Oh, there you are. WA4 EVK. Well, better Nate than Lever, as they say. Good to hear you, Boone. And I heard the word about your AF-68 from Lyle. So let's see, what will we do here? So I guess I will turn it over now to. Let's see. I need to comment on something that Tony said about the I got a 6300 also. That was my first flex. Actually, the 6500 came out first of the 6 series, and it was so frightfully expensive. At least I thought it was, and I was a little bit wary of flex because I had tried the 1000 when it first came out, and it was way too crude for me, so I was a little gun shy. So I kind of waited till the 6500 came out. I forgot about that one. Then I went to the 6600 later on. I never had a 6400. The 6300 was okay, but the fan was too noisy for me. I put the thing under my desk and put books around it to keep the noise out, and I put a notebook cooler underneath it to keep it cool, because I didn't want to overheat the poor little thing. But for some reason, it had a noisy fan. As far as the WHAI thing, I've seen that, and I think the 7300s that I've heard on AM sound fine. I don't have any fault with them. I think it's just a little shy of 100% modulation. They sound okay. The 7610s will do 100%, but they sound kind of tinny because of no low end. So I really don't prefer to use these anyway. I use my LMAX, and I got some Johnson equipment here and what have you. I prefer to use that. And Lyle, as far as the K4 goes, I don't get it. It has the same front end as the 7610. It's on the Sherwood list. It turned out to be actually much lower on the what is it, 2KC IMD or whatever it is. It's lower on the charts than the K3, so I don't get it. And I was on the Facebook group for the K4, and I said something to that effect, and I was pounced on immediately by, oh, it doesn't matter. Once you get up to the top 30, they're all alike. Of course, they're trying to justify they're trying to rationalize the situation. I thought it was kind of humorous, but I don't see it. It's just too expensive for what you get. And yes, they did have displays going out on the 7610 like hotcakes, and mine did twice. And I sent the first one in 3 times, and I finally gave up on it. That's when I got the Flex, and they changed manufacturers. The guy that the company that was making the original display, the CEO ended up in jail in China. It's coming out of China. They shut the whole place down. So ICOM had to resource their displays, and so far I've had this one now for about a year and a half, and it looks just like it did when it was new. So let's see what Boone's got to tell us here. WA4EVK, go ahead, N4LQ, and then turn it over to N4WD. Go ahead, Boone.
Oh, not too much. Just glad that everything worked out with the AF-68. Steve, that 400 volts is it drops to about 385, I think, on transmit. It's giving me about 20 watts out, which ought to be just about perfect for my amp. And that's pretty well it on this end. I hope Thursday to have it all plumbed in and working. I built a little console box or switch box so I could use any receiver, transmitter combo around here and still have a fan adapter and all that. And with that, I'll send her up to Bruce. Oh boy, Bruce, it locked up on your call. Believe we're talking N4WD. Go ahead.
You got it, Boone. You must have scratched behind your left ear. N4WD. Oh, me. And I had seen that thing on the 7300 with the 9-volt and a pot, and you adjusted it to get what you needed. But I don't know. Everybody says it sounds good. It may not be doing 100%, but I think it does right at 85, 90, which is good enough for me. So for when I check it with the AM test meter. So that's the way I just keep it like that. And I don't know if AUZ's still in there, that the Linux guy. So we won't talk about that. We'll talk old radios. Boone's back in here now. And Steve, I don't know who's left and who it goes to, so I'll toss it up and you can kick it over. N4WD in the soccer game.
Oh, yeah. People are coming and going and checking in at different times and all that, so I'm kind of, it got a little scrambled there. So I'm going to give it to Tony, and Tony will give it to W4AUV, that's Dale. And Tony, Dale, and I have been friends for, going back to the 90s, I guess, and mostly on CW. We're both kind of CW type people. CW has gotten to where I tell you what, it is a struggle to find any kind of a QSO on CW, and I try, and it's just really frustrating, and it's just all POTA, soda, Minnesota. I mean, there's just people collecting this and chasing that and trying to rack up points, and everybody's in a hurry, and all you can get out of them is the number, and that just blows me away. I just have no interest in all that carrying on. I guess I'm getting too old, but I don't know. Contest. I never was a contest. I don't watch sports on TV either. K4QE, N4LQ.
All right, Steve, very good. And good evening to the other gentleman who just joined us. And, yeah, Steve, I know how you feel. I was a contester and DXer for many years, and I've lost my interest in it. I don't have any interest in doing contests anymore. And with DXing, well, you know, I got up to 330 countries, and all the ones that I have left are in countries that will probably never be on the air during the rest of my lifetime. So it's kind of, you know, there's nothing else for me to work. So I'm not really, it's kind of, I've lost my interest in it. So, and I thing is, I wish I would have thought, I wish I knew this was going to happen before I bought this heavy hardware. I'd rather spent the money on something else. But anyway, you know, you guys have been talking about the multi-LMAX, and I have gained an interest in them. And specifically, I would like to get an AF67 and a PM7, because I like to use it on 160. And I know the 68 and the PM8 are do 80 through 6. So I don't know how. What are my chances of finding an AF67 and a PM7? I know the power supplies are like hen's teeth, so I'd have to do something about that. But I'm curious as to how what my chances are of finding such a pair in working condition. I am not a good electronics tech. So I either have to have somebody else do the work for me, or I can do very basic stuff, but I could not restore something. I know my limitations. So, all right. I think it goes to Dale, W4AUV from K4QE.
All righty then, K4QE and various sundry. And the group 2, this is W4AUV. transmitting from deep behind enemy lines in liberal Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay, and I also want to make a formal a group apology here. I am not running any ICOM gear. This is a Kencom Wood 590 SG, and we're driving a Tennessee Technology Centurion 422B to just about a kilowatt. The antenna is a great big old hunk of end-fed wire, and I guess it loaded up all right, and it seems to be working. Okay, yeah, Steve and I go way back to the way back, probably, I don't want to say 1992, but maybe 94, maybe the first time I worked Steve on CW. And Steve and I and Neil, who is now a silent key N4HAF, who worked at 99.997% CW. And Steve, I've got, of course, you know, there's a Con Stupid test coming up on Thanksgiving weekend here. I think it's the CQ Worldwide. So everything will, on the normal HF bands, will be destroyed. I think the reason, there's several reasons for people not working CW. First of all, the ARRL or the ARRL or whoever those people are, worked really hard over the years to eventually get rid of Morse code for the testing. So that was step one. Step two is we've got a younger group of people that are hams now that have come in without having to show some kind of code proficiency. So that's number two. And number three in this perfect storm is the culture of these younger people is such as that they really don't want to talk to you. They don't really have much to say, and they don't want to talk to you. So the contesting is a way to get on the air and not have to have a conversation with anybody. N4LQ and the group, W4AUV.
Okay, yeah, I agree with all the above there. Well, today I got my last issue of QST. I think. Let's see. When's this thing expire? I got notified that, expires 12/23. So that's it. No more QST after 60 years. That's a shame. And I don't really have much inclination to remain a member of the ARRL since, they really shot themselves in the foot. I mean, I could live without the paper magazine, and I wouldn't have minded paying moderate dues, because I figured, well, if you're not going to send me a magazine, you probably should cut the dues down to like $10 or something like that. And they're always saying they don't have enough members. Well, duh. Lower the membership fee and they'll all join. But if they realize that, the ARRL represents them, which is actually its main function is to protect the amateur community. That was the original idea, and they did a good job back in 1917 or whatever it was. They saved us from the Navy, so proud of that. But now when they take away a big benefit, which is a magazine, and then also want to raise the dues, they shot themselves in the foot. It made no sense to me whatsoever. And then if I want the paper magazine, I got to pay like almost $90. But I do get a free coffee cup. So there you go. That's the deal. Over to let's see. I'm going to turn it to Lyle. Will be next, and then Boone. And actually, that's the way it should go. So go ahead there, Lyle. N4QH, N4LQ.
Oh, no, don't start me on that.
got to the point, after all these contests I was in, I got to the point all it took for me was to prove to myself that I could sit in a chair for 24 or 48 hours or whatever. That's all contesting proved to me. So I'd rather get in a good old QSO like we're in right now. At any rate, I'm going to bail on out, Steve. I'll send it back to you, and this will be my final. N4LQ and 4QH. Cheerio for now.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, FT8. Well, just another digital mode. The only problem is it's no good for carrying on a conversation, and that's the downfall of the whole thing. It's just kind of silly. But now, Whisper WSPR was kind of handy for checking propagation and whatnot. That's okay. You know, it's a one-way transmission. Doesn't count as a QSO anyway, but all these, I mean, it's huge. FT8 is just sort of taken over, and all it is good for is collecting a score. So, 73 is live. We'll talk to you later. And Boone, go ahead. WA4EVK. And, yeah, do, by all means, get that AF68 on the net Thursday. And I am really anxious to hear it. And I was telling Bruce about the modification that I just came up with today to fix the grid current on 80 meters. It's kind of flaky. I don't know if you noticed it or not, but it's got like more than one peak and a null and all that stuff. And the zero, when you flip it, the VFO to the spot position in zero, it's very hummy. And I fixed that with just one resistor, and I think what I'm going to do is just post the picture to the old Friends Net. That way you can see it there. Over to you, WA4EVK, N4LQ.
Oh, N4LQ in the group, WA4EVK. Well, that explains that. I was having my first experience with one this afternoon and was scratching my head over the grid current. Thought I had a unique problem. Oh, yeah, I have very much noticed that odd behavior. Hadn't had a chance to get on the other bands and see how it acted, but yeah, on the 80, it has its own way of thinking and acting. Yeah, Thursday, the only thing I've got left to do is get it set up in the transmit receive mode with the output to the linear, and I haven't had a chance to test all that yet, and then set the audio. Seems to be modulating pretty good, but I have not put it on the scope yet. I just finished the cable here about 2 hours ago, so I didn't get much chance to do much with it. And with that, I'm going to send it on up to Bruce, N4WD, WA4EVK.
Okay, Boone, the N4WD. Did you build you an S meter to go on it? While you had it open there and pull out that screen voltage there and build you a little pad and then put an S meter on it in a little box so you can hang on the outside. You can take it out from your cables and you won't have to get in the radio there. And it don't tell you much other than unless you make an S meter out of it. So, but good luck with it. And I'll look forward to seeing that, Steve, so I can put that on the one I got. And he don't want to tinker, so I'll just hang on to my 67 and PMR7. The receiver works, but the transmitter needs some work, so I'll just hang on to it then until I get the time to really get in there and chunky with it myself and get that transmitter working like it should. I think the problem I'm having with it is like Boone, that the power supply, getting everything right on it and the voltages, it just makes it hard to do. Especially when I built one power supply and it works the receiver good, but the changeover relay doesn't work like I think it should for it. So it's got to have some work done on it. And me too. We're getting so old working on this stuff. Fingers get curled up in there and I can't get them out. So let's see. It goes for me. I can't remember if it goes to Dale or Tony. Somebody raise my mind so I can get the arrows pointing here in the right direction. N4WD, tossing it up.
All right. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll give it to Tony here in a second. I wanted to comment on his quest for an AS67. May not be the rig you want for 160. They covered 160, but the problem was the tank coil. The winding is so tight that a gnat couldn't go between the turns, and a lot of them ended up getting broke and shorted, and they just actually, a lot of them just got tore out. Got rid of them. I wouldn't fool with it. The power supply issue, you can't hardly find the power supply. Very, very scarce. And I think the reason is most of these were used in cars, and I think a lot of the power supplies just got left installed somewhere in the car on its way to the junkyard, probably. and it's, they're just not out there. And that's all I can figure. And it's not an easy power supply. It's not like, it's got to have a relay in it, and the push-to-talk relay is in the power supply. So when you squeeze the mic, the signal from the mic goes into the power supply and triggers a relay, which activates the B+, sends it back to the transmitter, and when you let off the mic, it unkeys the relay, sends B+ to the receiver. So it's just and it's got to have three voltages, three voltages, and plus the filament. So it's not an easy task. I would think if I was getting into it, I wanted to do it 160, I'd get a Ranger and find one that works. But any of these things, sooner or later, you're going to have to work on them, and it can be frustrating if you're not used to it. But if you can find a Ranger that's got somebody as expert has rebuilt it, recapped it and aligned it, and it's ready to go, and if you're close enough to him, you can get some help every now and then if you're not able to work on it. But anyway, if you really want an AF67, KO4 SSY Billy over in Murphy, I just heard him say today he's got 3 or 4 of them sitting around, maybe more than that. Maybe he said 7. I think he's they grew on him or something, but I'm sure he'd let you have one for nothing much, but no power supply. So there's the deal. Over to you, Tony. K4QE, and then it goes to Dale, N4LQ.
All right, Steve, thanks. One more quick question. What about a PMR7, or how common are they?
Yeah, well, they're not too uncommon. I've got one here, PMR7. I mean, that's the receiver, and of course it's got to have the same power supply, or at least the power supply. I think it requires 250 volts. Yeah, 250 and 105 volts regulated DC plus the filaments. Go ahead.
Roger. Okay, well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate all those comments, and I will certainly take that into account. I know John said he's got a Ranger he's looking to unload, so maybe I'll indulge him on that. We shall see. All right, well, I think I'm going to cut out for this evening. It's been a very enjoyable QSO tonight. We've been here for almost an hour and a half. That's pretty good. So I hope everyone has a good night and stays dry. And if I don't hear from y'all, I hope you have a very happy Thanksgiving. and I believe I pass it over to Dale, W4AUV. This is K4QE.
All right. K4QE and the group, and all you shortwave listeners out there, this is W4AUV. All righty. Well, okay. I was also into the boat anchor world a few years back. I had a Apache and matching Mohawk, and I was up on 75 meter AM, and I had completely rebuilt the audio chain in the Apache, and I ran it with a D104 microphone. And if you open the trap door on the top of the Apache, you could look inside of it and see some empty tube sockets. That was the circuitry I didn't need. Anyway, I sold it at a ham fest, but the story behind that's kind of funny. I sold it twice. I had it for sale, and a guy came along with the matching Mohawk, and he just wanted the EL34 audio tubes out of it. I said, well, the price is for sale for the pair. So he starts counting the money, and he gives me my asking price for 2 EL34s and says thank you and walks away. So now I'm sitting there with a working transmitter minus the EL34s. Later that day, I sold the TX1 and the Mohawk again, so I sold it twice. And I also had in here an SRT-14, which was about 800 pounds worth of transmitter, and I was using that up on 600 meters back when we were allowed to run 100 watts up there. I was part of a group doing that. So I don't know who gets it. I know Steve just talked, but I've been turning it back to Steve. So I think it's Boone's turn, but if I'm wrong, somebody correct me. WA4EVK, and if he signed, I don't know. Pick it up, Steve. W4AUV.
W4AUV in the group, WA4EVK. Is that the right order, Steve?
Yeah, sure is. Go ahead.
All right, good deal. Yeah, the power supply, I did a little head scratching. I started looking at that, Steve, and it took me a little bit of finagling to get the relay switch and everything right. Thought at first I had the wrong view on it, but no, it turned out that's what they did. A steady state 250 for the receiver and for just the VFO, I think, to zero with, and then switched 250 and B plus. In my case, I'm running about 400 volts. What I did was take a Heathkit power supply at Steve's suggestion and take the voltage doubler out of the high B plus, the 800 volt section, put a full wave bridge in, and added a TR relay. Just a little kind of common Potter Brumfield type relay. I don't know how long it'll last, but for right now, everything's going. And Steve, I think I told you it's putting out about 20 watts, which is going to be perfect for driving this linear without having to run it light. So that's just about the story there. So N4LQ, WA4EVK.
Absolutely. WA4EVK, N4LQ. Oh, you did good. If that works, that's great. When you're in VFO spot mode or zero, as it's showing on the switch there, zero, that's taking the receiver's voltage and applying it to the VFO of the transmitter, since you're not using it on the receiver. The only problem with that is if you squeeze the mic, that means the VFO loses its B plus voltage in the normal wiring scheme, and the transmitter is therefore keyed with no VFO, sending the final amplifier current to the moon, slamming the meter all the way over, and that's the way they built it. Duh. So, anyway, that's something I don't recommend doing. It doesn't hurt it. It probably would pretty quick, though. Just no drive and plate and screen voltage on a 6146 will only last a certain amount of time. The other downside to the whole scheme is if you want to operate CW, you've got to hold the push-to-talk in while you key the rig, or you somehow have to key the mic. There's no way around that. You got a D104, you can just slide that slider up on the chicken choker there and lock it down. Oh boy, and then of course the VFO runs all the time, and you can hear that in the receiver. So it's not really too good for CW. But the main thing people like about them is they have excellent audio. They got a really nice, good fidelity push-pull modulator, 6L6s, good transformer, and they provide enough power to. I communicate during the day with guys around the region with 23 watts. But it's about the right amount of power to drive the amplifier. And with full plate voltage, you're doing pretty good to get 30 watts out of it. And that's plenty, really. A Ranger will get you an extra maybe 10 watts because the plate voltage is higher. Same basic scheme inside, but here's the thing. It doesn't take up as much room on the desk. It's light. The power supply is remote, so I can reach behind this thing and pull the power supply connector loose, unscrew the antenna, pick it up by the handle, and walk out the door with it. I mean, it's so easy and light, and it looks nice sitting on the desk here. And the other thing is, when you're not transmitting, it only uses 42 watts of electricity. I've measured it. And if you compare that to a Ranger, it is going to use close to 200 watts just sitting there cooking its filaments. And the reason for all this is because the plate voltages are cut off in the LMAC when you're receiving. And there's no idling current going through all those tubes. They're just sitting there with their little filaments burning and not using much power. So it's got a couple of advantages and a couple of disadvantages. Just depends on what you're after. Let's see. Who is left here? Bruce, I guess it's over to you. N4WD, N4LQ.
Okay, N4LQ, N4WD. Well, I got the 68 and the PMR8, and I like them. I'm going to have to replace my driver tube in the 68, though. I think it's getting kind of weak. I don't get the grid current I used to get on the final, so that won't be much. Slide the case off and swap the tube, and maybe it'll be back to like it used to be. I can get about 30, 35 watts out of it, and used to do about 35 to 40. But I'm going to think I'll put that resistor in there, because that's one of the problems I have is that multi-dip thing. And getting the right one, that might be, instead of replacing that tube, put that resistor in there and see what it does. Yeah, let me see here. I think it goes to, does it go to Dell? W4AUZ, N4WD.
All right, N4WD. And all you shortwave listeners out there, this is W4AUV. Okay, well, good. Never had one of those transmitters, so I don't really 100% follow what y'all are talking about. But that's okay. That's the story of my life. Anyway, Steve, best thing I ever got was one of these 1026s, these noise cancelers. I put up a noise antenna, and I don't know if you've been noticing, but on different bands there's these noise spikes about 10 kc apart, all up and down the band. They're all up and down the band on 60 meters almost every time I listen there, and on various other bands. And this little noise canceller just bloops them right out. So okay. Oh no. Now I forgot who gets. Yeah, I think it's Boone. N4EVK, WA4EVK, W4AUV.
W4AUV in the group, WA4EVK. Yeah, the AS68s there, they got great audio quality, Steve, from listening to them. And I've got this one set up with a D104 that I hope's in reasonably good shape. So we'll see. I've got to get it set up in an AM station, which shouldn't be a problem. Tomorrow, and then Thursday morning, operate it. And that's about it. I'm going to ease on out of here. It's getting a little late in the evening for me. The XYL has been keeping me busy getting ready for all the company on Thursday, so she's wearing me out a little bit. N4LQ in the group, WA4EVK, B73s, guys.
All right, Boone, I'm glad you came in tonight and shared all that with us, and appreciate it. And ships at sea, shorter wave listeners. We probably do have some. Usually, there's a bunch of people that listen to the nets, and I appreciate that. And I'm streaming this on YouTube, and I'm looking at some of the comments that coming in. And I got a guy in Orlando that's listening, and a guy in Wales, GW4LWD. Hello to you over there in Wales. Some DX over the internet. It's pretty good. Anyway, yeah, I'm really impressed with the 1026 MFJ 1026. As you know, that is a very well built product. The only thing I did to enhance it was you can get so much power back into it through the receiving antenna that little light bulb is sometimes overwrought. I put a pair of back-to-back Schottky diodes across the input for that receiving antenna, and that bulb hardly even comes on now. So that alleviated all those worries. If you're using a short antenna for receiving, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I use whatever I got here, and man, if I use my big 160 antenna to receive something on 80 meters, look out. There's a lot of RF coming back, and that'll blow her up. So got to be sure to take care of that. But and having an SDR to adjust it is almost mandatory. It's really hard to do it just by ear, but if you can see the spectrum, it makes it really easy. So good evening to everybody. It's just me and Bruce left. I'm starting to get a little hoarse. I think I'll probably back out of here, and I need to be in there and talk to my daughter anyway. She's in there talking to my wife, but I probably should go in there and talk to them. So over to you for a final there, Dale, W4AUV, N4LQ.
All right, N4LQ, W4AUV. You say you put those Schottky diodes across the receive input on the noise antenna input?
Yeah. I think the light bulb goes in series with it, and I may be wrong on that. I'm not sure how that. I'd have to look at the schematic, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I just put it from the hot side of the antenna input to ground, back to back, two diodes back to back, and just some low voltage Schottkys. They're great because they're so super fast. Over.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I put one of those things from DX Engineering in the line now. When I'm talking, I can see the little light flashing on the inside. So, but that RF grabber that's in series with the receive line, I would hope that would chop off the peaks before the light bulb blows.
Oh yeah, I didn't know you had that on there. Well, that'll take care of it then.
And why in the world didn't they put another relay in this thing and just ground the input every time the transmitter's keyed? That doesn't make any sense.
There is a relay in there. I never did use it though. Do you use the relay?
Yeah, because I don't have the in and out thing like your ICOM thing does with the receive. I've got a receive out only, but I can't do the signal mixing and send it back into the receiver. So I've got it hooked up. The exciter transmits through it. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's fine then. Not too good for CW, I guess. But I thought your 590 had a output for a receiver, isn't it? Or maybe I guess you have to have both. I guess you have to have an input and an output, right?
Well, that's right. You have to have an input and an output. I've got an output, so I still use that output to go to the SDR receiver. But that little INRAD modification kit that you can get for the 7300, I can't do that on the 590 unless I take it apart and do some internal surgery.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, you're doing okay then. You got it licked and it's helping you, so I don't know. It's just it's a little clunkier on CW, I guess, though, since you got another relay to worry about.
Well, I usually have, but I haven't been using it on CW that much, to tell you the truth. But on 60 meters on one of the channels, I've got a bunch of guys that I talk to on 5330.5. There's a spike perfectly in the middle of the pass band on the upper sideband audio, so it takes it all out. Otherwise, I couldn't talk to any of them if I didn't have this thing.
Yeah, things come and go. You know, like a couple of years ago, I was plagued with this noise from something up the road here. And I dealt with it for a long time, and I couldn't hardly hear anybody. On 3715, it was right there on my frequency, and so I got out this thing. I've used this thing off and on over the years, and I hooked it up, and I was able to totally null it out and hear everybody just fine. And it took a while. I located the house that was making the noise. I did not know the people, and I didn't want to bother them. But one day, I noticed suddenly the noise was gone, and I looked at the house, went by the house with the car, and there was a cable TV company, Spectrum, in the driveway. So they were changing something, and I think maybe they went from AT&T over to cable service or something involved with their old service was putting out enough noise that I was like a block away from them. So it took care of that. In Charlotte, when I had that the guy with the treadmill, it took care of that, and it took care of the line noise. So there's other ones on the market, but I think that MFJ is the most sophisticated one that I know of. DX Engineering sells one that costs about three times as much.
Yeah, but the value is in what a third of the value is in what it does, and the other 2/3 of the price is in the DX Engineering decal.
Yeah, you got that right. Well, they also had a cheaper model, the 1025, but it didn't have a preamp, and that wouldn't be too good because that lets you use a lesser antenna for that noise antenna. And it's important that you want it to pick up the noise and not the desired signal. So it's best to use that receive antenna, place it near the source of the noise or aim it at the noise or something, and not pick up the guy you want to hear.
Yeah, and you're also right about having a spectrum to look at while you're trying to tune it. But what I figured out is if you take your receiver and put the AGC into a fast mode, like 5 milliseconds or less, and I can do that on the 590, then it's much easier to find the null.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. That's one. Speaking of AGC, it's the one and really the only complaint I've got about these ICOMs is the AGC reacts too quick to pulses, like horse fence, electric fences. The click, click, click that happens about once every half a second. It grabs the AGC and slams it up to 20 over 9. That is, you can tune that out with a noise antenna, but that is not easy. That takes some real experimenting because there's nothing there to work with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're tweaking the knob on the looking for the null, and you passed it 16 times when it wasn't clicking.
Yeah, absolutely. And now the Aircraft K3, it did not respond to those fast pulses, and my SDRs that are here, like the SDR Play and the RX 888, it doesn't even notice it. I don't even know the electric fence is there. I don't hear it, and I don't see it. It's just weird how ICOM managed to capture that quick pulse, and I guess that's fine for DXing, but it's not good for electric fences.
Well, low signal level DXing, that's actually what you need. All right, I'll let you go. And your daughter's going to be there for Thanksgiving and all of them, or what?
Yeah, my sister's coming up from Charleston, and my son's coming down from Indiana, and both the grandkids. So we'll have a house full.
Yeah, we should plan a get together sometime. It's been a long time, and I haven't seen you.
Yeah. Maybe I can make it to the Raleigh Amfest next year.
All right. Okay, Steve, we'll let you go, and I'll try to think about getting on here more often. I just don't think about it. I just do other things. But if I hear you guys on, I have to go outside and reconfigure my antenna, but that's a 5-minute deal. All right, we'll talk to you later. N4LQ, W4AUV.
Okay, we'll shut her down here. Thanks for coming by tonight, and be here next time, which is tomorrow night, and every night, 8 o'clock, 73, W4AUV, N4LQ is clear.
N4LQ, N4OBR.
N4OBR, yes, sir, go ahead.
Hey, Steve, I know you're getting ready to get out of here. Just been listening to you guys a little bit. You're on later than normal. That's great. Anyway, Mike down here in Mount Pleasant, I just heard you guys sounding good, and just wanted to see if the old 530 was working this evening.
Yeah, well, Mike, you're 20 over here in Shelby, and you're working good. Sounds very good. So appreciate you calling in, and yeah, I'm about wore down here, but glad you checked in with me.
Yeah, sounds good, Steve. Always enjoy it when I can, and didn't get a chance to get on earlier. But anyway, well, you have a good evening, and maybe I'll hear myself on the stream later on, and I hope you guys have a good Thanksgiving, and maybe we'll catch you sometime after Thanksgiving. Have a good evening, Steve. N4LQ, N4OBR, 73.
Okay, Mike. Thanks again, 73. Have a good night and a good Thanksgiving. N4OBR, N4LQ is clear.